anything
Soft
that
life.
is, yeah, barkis of life. Yeah, you want to dress over nice, your hair
You look
must
the
be
part.
on
Yeah.
point. Yeah, hair on point, nails on point, dress code, car, and then they've got the tendency to say, especially in relationships, you guys are under a lot of pressure. They expect you, Gavin, to have an apartment. How much is an apartment? How much is it? It took me so many years to have an apartment of my own. That's so much to tell.
Okay. So let me formally start it. Everyone, welcome. My name is Gavin Maluleke, and I am here today with the one and only. I'm going to say this name in a very special way. I don't think she has heard me say this name before, but I'm here with Olga in inverted commas, Dr. Mashia, a person who loves sharing information and imparting knowledge to those who are hungry to learn. She is involved in multiple areas in the health sector, and I think she will touch base on that more and share a lot with us. So the reason we are doing this is the power of progress, youth empowerment. We are doing this to empower the youth, to empower specifically graduates to be exact, because a lot of graduates are losing hope with what is happening right now across the entire world, and they need a little bit of light from the people that have experienced hardships and that have been through trials and tribulations, just to share a little bit of hope to the graduates and to say there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because now when you look at the news, you look at everything, it's like the world is coming to an end. So without a waste of time, thank you so much for coming through. I think this is going to be an amazing conversation we're going to have here. It's more of a conversation than an interview. So yeah, thank you. Without a waste of time, let us start by asking you, share a little bit of your story, just who you are for the people that don't know you. Maybe the 15-year-old, 16-year-old, I don't know what was your name back then. You are definitely not a doctor.
They used to call me Klenki.
Klenki.
Yeah,
yes.
My home girls and home boys know me as Klenki. Yes, I was born and bred in Valmansdal, which used to be a South African National Defence Force base around Boma 1975, 6, 7, because we were removed Kososhanguve in 1975, and we were removed from Valmansdal and taken to Soshanguve. You know, Soshanguve means a mixture of Sotho, Shangani, Nguni, Venda, and we were like put in groups, ethnical groups, when they removed us from Valman. Ne? So I used to attend school at Kensani. I was learning Sepedi, and then my great-grandmother was Mutsonga. I never went to a preschool or crèche. There were no crèches then. So, and you can imagine our moms went to school. If they were lucky, they would complete standard 6 then. And that was the highest qualification. And then from standard 6, you would go to do primary teacher's course or become a policeman, you know. But then because the situation at that time, there was so much poverty. But I think my family was rich in a sense, because my grandmother used to own land, a 10 Morgan land, where all her sons were there with their wives and children. So there was this particular lady, but she passed on. Every day when she came back from school, I used to go to her. She was a family member. I used to go to her, and then she'd give me a piece of paper to write. So by the time I started school in 1972, I could read. And I remember there was a time when my grade, you call it grade 3, we used to do standard 1. She took me to a standard 5, standard 6 class to read, you know, we used to have a spelling book, you know. So she took me with a spelling book because I could read ahead of the whole class. So she took me and said, look at this child. She can read. And then you are sitting here, you cannot even do your homeworks. So I was reading in front of my standard 6, you know. Wow. So, and then Yeah,
What was that
at
at 8?
standard 2. At that time,
Standard
I was
2,
standard 2. Yeah, I was like 7, 8, 9. I was like 9 years old, I think.
9 years
So
old in
because
front of, wow.
yeah, and that time people who were doing Boma standard 5, standard 6 were old. They were like 19-year-old. Some of them were like 20,
Okay.
21. Because people then used to go to school until they were very big. I remember my uncles also. They already had beard when they were still in standard 5, standard 6. Yeah. So when we moved to Soshanguve, I was in standard 2 then, and it was in the middle of the year. We had to move in the Zulu section. Now I had to switch from Sepedi to study Zulu.
What a
And
shift.
I'm lucky because I've got that acumen to learn languages. Like right now, I know 10 out of 11 official languages. The only language I don't know is Chivenda, because I was never exposed to people who speak Chivenda. Otherwise, these other languages, I learned them through playing with other kids and listening to the radio, you know. So I did the Zulu. I studied in Zulu then, and then when I passed standard 5, you call it grade 7.
Yeah, grade 7, yes.
Passed standard 5 in 1978. I passed with a distinction in the whole Pretoria North Circuit. I got a distinction, and at that time I was 13 years old. Then I went to a high school in Soshanguve at Block F. Our principal was Ntate Strike. He was a very progressive man who used to not waste your time. If you were brilliant, you skip a class and go to the other one, you know. So when I arrived there, I came alone, tiny, and I didn't know any. And some people were accompanied by their parents. I came alone. My mother was a domestic worker. I didn't have a father then.
Wow.
So my mom was a single parent. So I went to that school, and because I used to hear people saying, you know, that principal is so progressive. If you are clever, you'll skip a class. So I went there, and then when they were putting us in classes, he wanted only people who have passed with a D symbol and a C symbol. At that time, they didn't expect anyone to have a B. So he asked, anybody who passed with E, one side, they went. Who passed with EE, one side. Then he said, you E and EEs, you can go to a new school at Block G. They are taking all people who are not belonging to my school. So here I want only the D's and the C's. And then the D's one side, the C's one side. The C's were only 2. And then I was reminded and said, why not picking? What are you doing there? Don't worry, it's my husband there.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
Now, so my principal said, and then you? I said, I passed with a B. He said, wow, B. Okay. Teacher so come and fetch this kid and take him to the class where they're doing maths and science. She's going to be a doctor. She must do medicine this one because she passed well. That's how I skipped. I skipped grade 8. I went straight to grade 9, which was from 2.
So you skipped grade 8?
Yes, I skipped grade 8.
Wow. Okay. So just a quick question on what you've mentioned, because we're mentioning the 10 languages. I think that's a good thing. And how has that been beneficial throughout your entire life?
It has been beneficial. Because I worked at National Department of Health as a youth and adolescent health assistant director back in 2002 up to 2006. So I was responsible for a youth program for all the 9 provinces of South Africa. So I would draw up guidelines, training programs, and I was working closely with Love Life. I don't know if you know Love Life. It's still there. Love Life.
Love Life.
The one that
I've heard about it.
It's somewhere in Joburg. You must Google it. They are still having programs. And they used to have love games, and then they also had programs on TV where they engage young people, because since Boma late 90s, South Africa has been battling with teenage pregnancy, and also young people who are engaged in drugs. And then, so we had a lot of programs. You know, the Bill Gates, that is worrying a lot of us today with vaccine and stuff. He was there then sponsoring youth programs for South Africa. So we used to have groundbreakers who were like peer educators, because through research, it was discovered that young people want to hear information from young people. They don't want to hear it from elderly. And then young people also didn't want to go to the health facilities, because when they go there, we as adults, we judge them, and then we preach to them. We also impose our beliefs on them. So young people, even today, it's still a problem. Young people doesn't want to go to the clinics. They only go there when they are pregnant, especially the girls. And the boys or young men only go there when they have sexually transmitted diseases. That's why today you see there are condoms for young men. And then a lot of young men, like a certain age group of young men, rarely get STIs because they are self-aware, like young men like yourself are self-aware, and they know what they want, and they try to protect themselves, because we sort of educated young people to say, if you want to be safe, because another pain that we struggled with was HIV. So back then, we were trying to reduce the incidence of HIV to make sure that no young person should get HIV. But believe you me, even today, the reason that propelled me to do my PhD was that after having all the money from Bill Gates to come out with programs, after having NGOs like Planned Parenthood Association of South Africa coming all the way from USA to come and impart knowledge. I even went to USA to be trained on youth development.
When was this?
Where
How
I
old were
went
you?
there, I was in 2003. I was already having my master's degree when I went in
Okay.
2003. Yeah. So I went in 2003 because I was working for the National Department of Health in the youth program, so that we can improve the lives of young people and to encourage young people. I don't know if you know about the ABC prevention program, HIV. We said young people should abstain from sex. At that time, we were like preaching abstain, abstain, abstain. And then if you are having a relationship or you are married, then we preach be faithful and have one partner. And then if you can't abstain, you can't be faithful in your relationship, we preached condomize. That was in 1998, 2002, 2006, and still we continue to have more than 1,500 people getting HIV per day. Even if then also when it fast forward 2010, 2011, 2012, young people are still getting pregnant. And then you ask yourself, there's TV educating young people. There are pamphlets, fancy, a lot of other things. I don't know how old are you, but I know that you know a lot about
yes,
all these programs we have for to help young people have hope in life and to protect themselves against HIV and unplanned pregnancies.
So Ma, when you make the decision to go into health, I have this specific question here, whereby matriculants, just looking at matriculants, because we skipped a little bit there, just looking at matriculants, a matriculant that is sitting there at home, they don't know what to do, whether should they go to school or should they take online classes, should they go look for a job. They're really in the cross, one would call it a crossroad. So the question is, what advice would you give to a matriculant in this day and age? Should they consider full-time studies at a higher institution, or should they consider the availability of online courses, considering where the world is going? And also, if you can share a little bit of how did you make the decision to choose the path that you chose of nursing, of medicine, to be part of the health sector and start helping young people?
You know, when I grew up, in my family, there was no one who had matric. There was no graduate in my family. My mother alone and my dad never reached matric. So, and my mother was aware that I'm a brilliant child and she wanted the best for me. And then she used to say, when she passed her Form 3, which is grade 10, I want her to go and do PTC. My mother wanted me to do primary teacher's course. Ne?
Oh, PTC.
At that time, it was called PTC. So at that time, you know, and also the issue of career guidance were not there, you know. But then being exposed and being surrounded by people who care about you. Our teachers back then used to care about us. If they realize that you are a child that is serious, that can be something in your community, they used to groom you. If you are a child that comes from a family where there's no support, they will sort of support you. Ne? And during those days, I think we as children used to listen to elders, unlike now, where you see young people in the streets, they'll be doing horrendous things, like you see a boy and a girl, they are in a relationship, and the things that they do in front of others, we didn't do then. If you were a boy or a girl busy with mjolo and you see an elder coming, you run away, separate parts.
Nowadays they're standing.
Nowadays they just throw, they were doing things like you could just give them a room and say, hey, continue your stuff in this room, because the things that they do are so scary. And should you dare say anything, they can even stab you or even shoot you. So you're even afraid to talk to. During those days, we considered any elderly person your parent. So now, as I went along at high school, my teachers identified me, and then they sort of supported me in many ways. And then they even used to invite me to their homes when they had parties, like graduation parties. So I used to attend a lot of graduation parties of my teachers, because when we were there, we used to serve, we wear our black and white, and then we'll be serving drinks, we'll be helping to do this and that. And then as I was there, I was motivated to see young girls, like at that time, they're 20, maybe they're 24, 25. And most of them used to come from rich families, because during those days, some children never had money, because a person would go to school up to a certain age, but because they don't have money to pay for school fees, then they won't progress. But what my teachers taught me was that if you focus and you work hard and you are clever, you'll get bursary anyway. That's where I was lucky, because I and my mother used to threaten me. They never sat with us like we sit with our kids and say, for your future, make sure you focus, and then we talk about things that happen to us, and raw as they are, so that they understand. With our parents, they never tell us anything about how it happened that I was born when she was 17 years old. I just find out from my other relatives or my grandmother, but my mother never shared those stories with me. Unlike with me, I share with them the stories of my life. And that's why you saw Tato. Tato is turning 27 this year. He doesn't have a child. And many of his peers have got children. Dinelle, at the age of 26, she was married and had a child in marriage. And even today, their behavior, it's sort of role model, because even through my research, I could pick out that family values go a long way. My mother, the prayer warrior, and she is still, and she used to pray a lot for us as her children, and also sort of pray and ask God to her. And she used to tell me that, my child, I don't have gold or silver or anything. The only wealth that I'll give you is education. And my family was supportive. My teachers were supportive. Then I ended up getting a bursary when I passed my matric, because at that time I got a D, but my symbols were good, and then my APS score was high. And then I was accepted in nursing, and I opted to choose nursing because through nursing I was able to pay my fees. So they paid.
So it was a strategic move. You didn't just do it. Okay.
Because in my first year, they wanted you to prove that you can make it. So at that time, because I was earning something as a nurse, and then I took part of my money and paid for my school fees, and then some I was supporting my family, my siblings, because we are four, family of four. I'm the eldest, and we are 6 years apart with my siblings. You saw Ntabiseng's mother, and then you saw my other sister. When we were there, it was myself, the second born, and the third born. The fourth born was my brother. He's an electrical engineer. My two sisters, after matric, they just did some certificates for, the other one did a certificate in security. The other one did a certificate in like secretarial courses, So by then, that didn't stop, because for me, I have this thing that, each one of us have got talents from God. It's either I've got gifts of the head, where you'll be like a strategic person who thinks big things, and then you need people that have got gifts of the heart that will do things passion. Like I've looked at your group, your whole project. In your project SGLK, I could see that somebody has got a strategy, but for this person's dreams and strategic visions to come through, he needs people that are committed to be able to run with it. That's why your thing is successful, because you've got different gifts and you sort of help each other to make the bigger plan come to fruition. So what I would like to tell to young people is that for me, nothing is impossible. Number one, you need to trust God. You need to have a relationship with God, because if you put God first and then you fear God, everything is possible. Number two, you need to, our parents teach us in many ways, even if they are not educated, but there's a whole lot of things that our parents teach us because they come from university of life. They have experienced life before we were there. They know all the things that are pitfalls in your life, or that could be pitfalls in your life. So what I've realized with the children today and the children we were, there's a huge gap. Like, for example, I've got a grandchild. She's turning 4 this year. She's here around this room. She's got a tablet there watching educational games wherever she is. She's that's just 2 meters away from me. She's so disciplined. When you tell her that I'm busy in a meeting, may you please don't disturb me. Just it's you can imagine a toddler.
So you mentioned something here. You mentioned I think one of the foundation things that you've been mentioning throughout your answer is that family values. I think that's a very important topic that we can just sit on a little bit. Like, how important is family values, and how can I think this one is for parents and even the young ones who are going to be parents. How can they now start practicing the right family values that they can pass on to the younger generation, so that this thing can be a nice train, a nice train, flowing train, progressing. So what I would ask it like this: what are the 3 maybe top core values that have governed you, or that are helping you and your family right now, that you are running with? What are those 3 core values that people can start to adopt?
From my family, my mother taught me to respect other people. You respect people irrespective of their status, irrespective of their age. You respect all the way, because when you respect other people, you'll be able to have a relationship with them. And then I remember when I was at, I think I was doing Boma Standard 3, Standard 4, grade 6, 7. We used to have a subject called civics, where they taught us about respecting yourself, respecting property, and respecting others, which is one value that our community have lost. Because when you look around yourself, you see people that don't respect themselves. A person will stand just in front of a taxi driver, will open a door, taxi, high, more trafficking, and urinate. I don't know if you have experienced, I've seen it several times. A person urinating in the middle of the road doesn't respect themselves. Or so I say respecting yourself so that you are able to respect others. That's the most important thing that my mother taught me. And then another thing was humility. My parents taught me to be humble. And I've seen my parents humbling themselves and being humble. Like, wherever you are, do not step on other people's head just because you are Dr. Olga Mashia. Just be at a level of the people. Respect and humble yourself, and then God will put you up. And then the other value is integrity. Doing the right thing all the time, even if nobody's watching you. People who, these days we get people, let's say, for example, I live in a farm, and at my farm, there's a potential to employ people. And when you employ people, you give them a piece of a job. You expect them to do this. Maybe you tell them that do this and that and that. You expect them to do that. By the end of the day, they are done. But then what I've realized, especially some people and most of the young people of today, they don't have integrity. They want to be followed at all times, because once their parents or the boss leave their side, then they do other things. They don't respect time, they don't respect their work, they don't respect other people. People do as they please, and they're not even honorable. Look at our government today. When we vote for people, we trust them with our lives. We trust them with the resources that are there for us to share. But look at what happened. Look at the level of corruption happening today. Right now, as employers, we don't even have an increase because they say there's no money. Where did the money go? A lot of money was stolen due to corruption, due to people that don't have integrity, people that don't respect property. Look around our environment, our community. People are vandalizing everything, ESCOM, we have got load shedding now and then because cables are stolen. Who steals them? Some people know who those fake thieves are, and if you go out there, you dig a hole, you take a cable, don't you think of the other networks that are depending on that cable, especially hospitals. Imagine if somebody's mother sleeping in a hospital on an oxygen machine, and then somebody steal the cable, and then that person depend on the artificial respiratory machines. What's going to happen? People are losing lives because of people that lack respect, people that don't have integrity. And then also some of our leaders, due to lack of humility, when they're in those positions, they forget that they are there for us. They think they're there for themselves. And then that's, those three things for me, they stand out.
No, I think that's very powerful. Respect, humility, and integrity. I think
integrity.
And integrity. You outlined them very, very good. The next question I have for you is, since you were at school, let's just say right now we have moved from the matriculant. Now, assuming that the matriculant got the opportunity to go to school, people that are at school right now, how can we best utilize the opportunity at school to position themselves for success after school? Because I think it starts there while they're still at school. Because if I think about it, I remember when I got to varsity, and I would hear so many languages at varsity. People from outside the country, people from inside the country, from different provinces. And I just realized this is school is a place where different people from different communities, but with the same mission of progressing in their lives, they come together. But you find out that without the knowledge, you won't utilize the opportunity that is given to you. So a lot of students, including myself, at first, I would isolate myself. And not see the opportunities that are in front of me, that the person next to me in future can become the CEO that can hire me, or the person next to me can become the person that we can start a business together, things like that. So people that are at university right now, that are at school, how can they best utilize their opportunities? And how did you utilize the opportunity that you had to build the network that you have right now?
I think for me, what I've observed is that our children, especially my 2000,
yes.
when their eyes started opening, they saw some people around them filthy rich. And when they asked, or maybe when they read, because now social media is in our faces, then they realize that, I don't disrespect anybody. I know that all of us have got different crafts in our lives. I don't disrespect, and I respect the fact that we need to know our talents and tap. Like, for example, Tato Mashia is a graphic designer. When he started, Tato didn't like to read and dwell deep. He was different from my daughter, who was studying and doing stuff. But then he chose to become a graphic designer. For me, graphic design, I looked at it as this person just wants to draw. How is he going to feed his children with drawing? I didn't. And then I have my electrical engineering, but I said, no, I was thinking. There's a whole lot of stuff that you can. You see TV as it is. It's graphic designers. Oh, this billboard, this graphic. I said, okay, let me give him a chance. Guess what? I was the one who went out there to ask around that, hey, my son likes drawing. And when he passed matric, I don't even know where am I going to take him to advance his drawing. Then people gave me references and places, and then we started applying. But what I would like to go back to your question is that young people mustn't lose hope. They must know that education is important. And education, it comes in many forms. You've got formal education that needs you to become certificated and graduate. We've got informal education that you get at home from your parents because they've been at the University of Life. And then we've got the non-formal education where you gather skills as you go around, and then you can, with your talent that God gave you, you can utilize that talent to do a lot of other things. Like, for example, a person who have seen other people building and then they realize, because like sometimes you've got those people that have got a certain gift. I've got my brother-in-law. He's never been he's never been to school up to above grade 8. Yes. But he can fix a TV. He can take a radio or whatever, open it and take all the parts apart, and then take them back. And that radio can be in a top shape again. He fixes the radio, but he's never been to a technical school where he learns about that. You can imagine. He's got some non-formal education somehow. And then in our households, our parents want the best for us, and they keep on educating us about a whole lot of things. You know, like, man, I usually brag to my family that, you know what, I'm a very good manager and administrator, because in my house, I've never run out of salt. Okay. I've never ran out of anything because I know everything that we need. Even when we go to a simple outing with my family, let's say we're going to visit a family member somewhere, I'll make sure that I pack a picnic bag with everything that my family will need, because I will arrive at a family and find that particular family, we're not even ready for you, or they don't even know what to give you. Yes. So I'll pack enough for even feed those that are loving them. And when you love them, okay. When you love, yes. So when you start love your child as a little one, and then as they grow, you set all these values that you want from it. Like, for example, now and then you affirm them, you teach them, you sort of instill the spirit of self-affirmation. Like, for example, my grandchild, she will tell you that I am the princess. I am a clever girl. I am. So that's now right. And then that's what we instill that into that little girl. You instill that sense of confidence, and then also you also teach them to respect other people, and you expose your child you expose them to the environment so that they can learn, they can experience, and also you stimulate the right way. Like, it's very important issue at the games. Ne? If you have got a boy child, and then all the time when you watch all this violent, it's dangerous. Don't underestimate things where they say this is relevant for this age group. Those things plays a very huge role. So making sure that children are exposed to the right environment with the right teachings, and also when as a parent instilling those positive self-image and self-confidence teachings, then your child will have social skills. Because I've seen that a lot of young men and young women have the social skills.
How can they build that? Let's just say right now, let's say a scenario. Gavin he grew up in a family or a household whereby those things were not instilled in them. But now they are 18 years old, they are 19 years old, back of varsity, and then they lack those things. What can they start doing to at least 30%, 40% to move along the line?
You know, there are many programs, and people like me, who is a PhD graduate, where in my research issues here, the family values came out a lot. Ne? And then we go to churches. That's where it's a challenge for people that are educated, that have got more information and more knowledge. They must impart that knowledge in their family members, at community level, at churches, or at different settings. And then again, another thing, learning never stops. Like right now, I'm busy with a course by Vita Leading Self. Leading Self is a course whereby they sort of analyze, they give you sort of questions, and then you answer those questions, and at the end it gives you, on the Enneagram, we call it an Enneagram, where do we belong. There are about 9 areas.
Oh, it's like a personality,
personality scanning. Yes. And it sort of shows you or tells you when our personality thing, and then you also learn about other personalities. And when you learn about personalities, that's where, as time goes along, you'll be able to know this person almost. I get that not only this thing, now I've got natural hatred to so and so. Those are people people's skills, you know. So, and it's very important to have Boma people skills, Boma social skills. It's important, and those are soft skills that you can learn from different areas.
Where can they go? Let's just say someone is listening to this right now.
Even on social media, like for example, there are many programs like emotional intelligence. There are speakers on YouTube that speak about. There are books that you can read about those kind of topics, like Boma emotional intelligence, Boma conflict resolution. There are many. Even listening to motivational speakers like Joel Austin. I don't know if you have heard this.
No, I know Joel Austin.
Yes. So listening to things that, and a person also must have a yearning to learn to become a better person. They must also be, what I've also learned through doing the Koseki Etzang, you must know yourself. You must know how do people see you? And then what is it that they like about you? What is it that they don't like about you? And then what are the things that you can do to change and improve? And then if those things happen, more spacing, more backup, support, or education, but there are different areas, like life coaches. It's another area. There are people that decided to become life coaches because they realize there's a gap here to teach people about life, where they don't sort of instruct you, but they help you to identify opportunities and a lot of other things within yourself that can make you a better person and how to go forward. So young people need to not lock themselves out there, but they must use social media in a positive way, realistic to themselves. I feel I'm this type of a person, and then you just Google and it will take you to different areas you never knew about.
So a quick question before we pivot into, because I want us to talk about something that is close and dear to my heart, and I think it's going to be very important to the listeners here. But before we go to that, I want to ask, obviously throughout your journey, there are certain things that you know right now that maybe you feel like if you knew this while you are a little bit maybe younger, what would you, maybe the question would be, what would you say to your 20-year-old self or your 25-year-old self at that point? Like, what would you say to them with what you know right now? What 3 things or 2 things can you share with that person?
Well, not as a 20-year-old person, I was lucky. I was surrounded by positive people. So I think the 20-year-olds or any person must be careful of the company they keep. You must, as a young person, you must surround yourself with people that are positive and people that have got goals in life. And as a person, you need to have a goal in life, or in your life, this is what you want to do. And then they must know where things don't just come. You work hard to achieve, and you also need to focus. And you cannot do a lot of things at once. There are certain things, especially the risk behaviors. Risk behaviors, young people know them very well and they do them anyway. But what I've learned, young people, they don't want you to tell them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. But they need to know, if you do such a thing, these are going to be the consequences. And then there are choices. And they must know, yes, they do have got rights, but the rights, it is the responsibilities. If as a young person, you think you've got a right to have sex, know that when you have sex, you've got a responsibility to protect yourself, not to get an STI, not to get a HIV, and not to be pregnant without planning it. Because if you have got HIV, then it's a long-term illness or a condition that will need you to take antiretroviral drugs for life. You skip it, your health condition goes down. And then when your immunity is low, all the infections come into your body. You can die out of many infections. And then if you have an unplanned pregnancy, you're going to carry it for 9 months. And then after 9 months, that soul, you must take care of it for 18 to 21 years. And then do you have the money? Because taking care of a child involves a lot of money. That child must go to the doctor, they must get medicine. So they must know the consequences of the actions they take. Young people must know that anything that is risky that they do today, it's gonna bite them in future. Like, for example, as a young person, you have got the right to be taken care of by your parents. They must take you to school, they must clothe you, they must feed you. But when you reach a certain age, you must fly on your own. So young people must know that we are here as their parents and as vehicles to take them to where they want to be. But a lot of work comes from them. They must be committed, they must make right choices about life, and they must also learn to focus, because nothing comes from mahala. A lot of young people today, they like
focus, man. Like, because when you check, you mentioned that people are doing a lot of things at the same time. They're trying to do that, trying to do this, and then I think focus is something. Because I was reading this article not so long ago. It just mentioned that the concentration span of an average human being is below 8 seconds, and you can see it. You can see it with the younger ones when they're listening to music. They change. Well, when 2 minutes will change her being. 2 minutes will change her being. 2 minutes they change the channel. I don't like this. I like that. I don't like it anymore. I like this. And I think it's a whole thing about focus. I don't know how can people listening now increase their focus on important things.
Bari, kasi Zulu, bari lugocho alisese minds. Wabana kota, you can bend it while it's still wet. It's all green, but the other hard and thick you want. When you bend it, it breaks. So it's about training people's mind and their behavior. Like, you instill those, and then a person will make their choices. Like right now, when you teach your children, you can teach them to a certain age. When they reach a certain, one day they'll be smoking, and then when smoking is not good, it wastes money, it affects your life, but they will do it anyway. But it's their choice. They think a person, they must know, if you don't put time and your energy in doing things, for me, that's focus. If you make time and your energy to do something, and then you measure yourself and say, these are the things that I want to do, and these are the things I want to achieve. And then until you achieve those things, you must know you have not done anything about it. But you must have that drive to reach somewhere. But that doesn't come easy. It comes for a lot of discipline. Self-discipline is another thing. Like, for example, it took me 29 years to move from high school up to my PhD. It's 29 years of hard work. And it's not like I'm super intelligent. I had being a mother, and a wife, a makoti, and everything that I am to a lot of people. Make time. Gore ke dule, ke dire di-assignment, ke submit ka nako. That's discipline and focus needed right there. So our young people, they like soft life, and then anything, they must know that anything
Soft
that
life.
is, yeah, barki soft life. Yeah, you want to dress over nice, your hair
You look
must
the
be
part.
on
Yeah.
point. Yeah, hair on point, nails on point, dress code, car, and then they've got the tendency to say, especially in relationships, you guys are under a lot of pressure. They expect you, Gavin, to have an apartment. How much is an apartment? How much is it? It took me so many years to have an apartment of my own that was fully paid. It took me many years. But they expect you as a 30-something-year-old to have that. But you can, only if you save your money. But the thing is, if another thing that kills us is that we don't have financial intelligence. And it was not taught to us. Our children don't have it. And then when we, like myself, when I started realizing it, and then I want to teach it to my children, they accept it differently. The other one is an accountant. She can manage money. Right now, she has finished paying her bond. A bond she paid within 5 years. The other one is a car. The things that he buys, he's got an expensive taste of other things. So
yeah, like
different worlds from me. And then I'm here with my house that I don't owe. You see now. And I'm trying to say, my children, here's a space. While you are here, save your money so that you can, but it's not easy. So self-discipline, financial intelligence.
I think you're mentioning something. So sorry to cut you, but I think you're mentioning something because it's one of the questions here because this thing of financial intelligence, it's so big. It's so big to a point whereby especially us, the Black community, we are not financially literate at all. We don't know anything about taxes. We don't know anything about money. When we get money, we lose it. We don't know about investments. We don't know just the financial terminology. We don't know where the money comes from. When the country says we have taken 500 billion from the treasury or whatever, we don't even understand what that means. So the question I have here is what is the importance what is the importance for someone to learn about money at an early age? About money, just the terminology and the discipline around it and everything that has to do about money.
I think for me, it's like we must teach our children to respect money and to have a good relationship with money. They must know that for anything that you must buy or anything that you want, you must have money for it. And then money doesn't grow on trees. And at an early age, you have to give your children responsibility and say, you know what, this is our house, and we'll make sure that this house, we keep it clean. And as long as each one of you keep their room clean and then the kitchen clean, because it's a common space, maybe this is how much I will give you. We don't hire a domestic helper, but this is the money that we'll have, and then we'll divide amongst ourselves for this chores that we do. So sort of, and then they have their kitty box, and then you open their cards, bank cards, and then you know what, small steps, so that the children know that when they see a 10 cent on the ground, they don't just kick it. It's money. They must take it and put it in a cookie jar there. And then when those coins are full, you take it to the nearest bank with them, and then when they want something, you must let them know that we cannot go into a shop and then you want anything we buy. Everything that we buy, we need to budget. And sometimes when they are clever enough, you sit with them, especially when they are in their teenagers, because now sometimes they'll be having a pressure of wanting to wear yaparota label. So you put them down to say, guys, this is my salary. You see how much I earn. let's sit down, and then they are the ones, somebody will be having a calculator, somebody will have your payslip, the other one will have a pen and pencil to write. What are the things that you must do? Lead the bills, lead the biahonam. Then they calculate. Then at the end, they'll see who they don't live this lavish lifestyle or pulling this hard because you are doing it purposely on them. It's because this is how much you have, and then this is how it must be spent. Teaching them to spend when they are still young, they will respect money.
So
Although,
what about this is for the children and the teenagers, but then what about those young adults whereby they're still in their youth and they're about to cross over? And also, what about the adults? I understand this is for the youth, but also for the adults, because I think there's a lot of adults, black community rather, let me say that we still don't know anything about money. Number one, the question that I can ask you is, what have you been taught about money that you realize that, no man, this one is not true? What is it that you've been taught about money? You realize that this is not true and this is how the game is being played.
Well, I didn't have a chance to be taught about money through my parents, but I learned about money from, the insurance guys.
Yes.
And then what these guys did, partially they helped me, but somehow they duped me, because they will be coming from different companies with the same product, but different names. Like there was a time when my daughter ended up having 2 educational policies, one from Sanlam, one from Southern Life, because it was called by another name. This guy was like, no, it's different because of 1, 2, 3. And then later in life, as I went along and then we got used to these insurance things, I realized that no, man, this product, it's educational policy. But then it helped me because, sometimes it's not easy for you to save money there where you can access it easily. When you take money, you put it for me, when I take money and put it somewhere where I can take it whenever I need it, it helped, because by the time my children finished their high school, at least I had money to pay for their university fees. And they didn't have bursaries. They survived on the money that me and my husband saved for them. So, but from my side, because my mom was a domestic worker, my dad was not there, and then my stepfather was a chef at OK. So they didn't earn a lot to be there to. The only thing that I know from my mother's side was that she liked saving through stokvels, and she would be budgeting to say, I want to buy a fridge. Then through stokvels, because they put in money as a group, and then when the money comes to her, then she goes and buy a fridge. At that time, that's how she survived. But for me, it's important to let your children know how these different savings. If you don't understand, you organize and go to because you have financial advisors today that can advise us on what to do with money, But yeah, so, you are right. It has different levels for
and I think the basics are very important. And you mentioned something that is good there, because one of the questions here is, you find out that a lot of young people, they don't have a plan. They actually don't have a plan, and they're just traveling through life, and they're being pulled in different directions by different forces. If this one says, let's go there, they go there. This one, because they don't have a plan. I would love for you to elaborate on the importance of sitting down with yourself and having a plan for your life and where you're going, and not just going out there and those things, yes, God is there, but what is your plan? So I don't know if you can elaborate on the importance of sitting down and just jotting down your plan, even though it might not be the perfect plan, but just having an idea, having a target, having a goal.
In South Africa, we were lucky. We were very, very lucky. But like you say, that Black South Africans don't understand the value of money, because when we see money, we see big cars, big houses in the suburbs, and then expensive clothes that the label. Back in 2006, I had an opportunity to work for the US government, the United States government. And then through the government of United States, we were funding NGOs in South Africa to come up with different peer education programs. And all these questions you are asking were the foundation for those NGOs to start their programs, because it was discovered that, yes, young people have got a lot of issues and challenges, and some of them are not even fortunate to have adults to educate them or to support them. But through these NGOs that were there were issue of planning your life and savings. They were like, because initially we thought when you educate people, you have to organize a huge group of people. You stand there, you talk, and then you think people. So
Yeah.
through these programs we had, we were forcing the NGOs to have like modules to say, your program must cover socio-economic development, must cover psychosocial development, all these areas where we know that it's critical for young people's development. Ne? But the thing is, sustainability becomes an issue for some, because these people, they come in with good programs and then they want to educate our communities and impart, and then they provide seed funding. By the time they leave, everything disappears. But I know even today, they are still there. If like, for example, did you know, Hore, there's organizations that are dealing with the LGBTI group that is specifically looking at their health? And I was surprised to even hear that they even match them. Like, you can go into this app on your phone and then you introduce yourself, and then we have a person on the other side who is a maybe a member of the LGBTI himself, because they know how to relate to each other. And then that person, like, because being an LGBTI in our communities, it's stigmatized. It's like people don't wanna associate, or they sort of judge you and do all those things. So through that, they have got their own health services. They tell them where to get them, because when a person who's an LGBT go to the normal clinic, sometimes the way they are treated, they end up not being impressed, or they end up not wanting to go there. So all these NGOs have got programs specifically and tailored for young people to help them through life. But the thing is, they don't reach everyone at the same pace, unless you know a person who can connect you. Then that's why people like me, who have been through all these things, have got to know where these resources are and refer young people to reach out to them so that they can be empowered.
No, I think that is amazing. So another question based on what you were saying is that I would, for the graduates, I just want to be specific here, or for the employees, for someone that just got a job right now, and with what is happening across the world, people's jobs are at stake. Any day they can tell you, I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go. So I think one of the most important things is, how can you become a valuable asset in the company, so that when that time arises, because it's not a matter of if, it's when. When that time arises whereby companies need to cut people off, because we are in a drastic position right now, not only in South Africa but the entire world. We are facing a global recession coming through. It's gonna be hard. So but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. But being realistic, I would love for you to touch base on how can newly graduates who are working increase their value in the companies? How can they become better employees in their companies, so that I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
For me, since 2020, 2021, it came to my mind that as a person, you need to think outside the box, and also not depend on one stream of income. You must look around you and see opportunities and grab them. Like, for example, I liked the way you came up with your GLK. I don't know whether you've got other things within GLK, but the one where you expose young people to other young people like them and bringing them into one space and also inviting other people to talk to them. I like that idea because you might think it's a small thing. That is big because number one, it makes people see that the world is big. It's not hovering around them and their family. There are other people who are like them, and there are other people who can connect with them to take them to other heights. And then also to make sure that they learn other skills on a side. Like, for example, some people don't have passion, but some are so passionate. I know of a girl who is an accountant, and she's baking cakes. You know these beautiful cakes we used to watch on TV, it's a cake boss.
Yes.
There are certain young people who are, and I think it's a second accountant now because the other one also is an accountant, and then you can see that now it's an accountant and she's busy building her poultry business now. She has
Yes.
developed an app, and when she explained how these things work, for me it's a light bulb, an aha moment to say, wow, I never thought of this thing. So there's a whole lot. So young people must learn to look around them and see how best they can utilize their skills or develop new skills. Because, like you say, tomorrow might end up not having a job. Like even myself, I'm 57. Maybe they might say, we have run out of money. At 60, everybody must go. From there, I must know where to, and I should be able to identify my strong points, my talents, so that I can run with it, beyond 60 and outside the normal employ of the Department of Health. So young people must, because another thing that bothers me as an adult and as a parent, most of our young people, they focus their life on, they like weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and alcohol with all these different colors of bottles and fancy, that for me, and when I'm at a restaurant and then you order a virgin mojito and then they tell you that glass is 35 rand, and then you can imagine if because a person who drinks alcohol and cold drink, they don't drink the same quantity. Cold drink, you can only drink 2 or 3 glasses, but that one can finish 8 bottles, and then you find that bottle is 800 rand, and then 800 times 3, how much is that? 2.4. How weekend, so young people must learn their actions today, they are going to regret tomorrow. So they must try to step back of that lifestyle and make calculation of all the money that they are spending. If they want to go somewhere, then they must go. For me, I used to say you limit, we demand something to get something. Otherwise, if you want everything and you want all, it's not gonna happen. You want mjolo, you want school. Mjolo and school at the same time, they don't go together, because mjolo on its own, you have to, at a certain time, you have to be sitting there, and then there are deadlines and assignments that must be done when you are sitting. So young people need to discipline themselves, and self-confidence, and then use their time efficiently, and then think ahead, tomorrow, if my parents are not there, what am I gonna be? What am I gonna do? Because your parents are not gonna be there for it. Some don't even have parents. But the thing, you must get something tangible to earn a living. Yes, education, people are educated and they are not working. It's our system that failed us. But for me, when I started, there were opportunities, because as it is, I was able to work for an American company because I had a master's degree. If I didn't have a master's, they wouldn't have employed me there, because the level of things that are happening there are very high. They are doing things at a very high level. So I'm excited and happy of that experience that I had. And education put me there, So education is important. They must not take it light. So and so, juju are prove wrong. Only degree say two,
Because or mentioning something in the beginning, you mentioned because there's a trend that I've been seeing. What happens is, yes, the number of graduates has gone up in the entire world. So when the number of graduates has gone up, but you find out people are still struggling. We are still struggling, as meaning, yes, education is a key. It's a very important key to progress. Let me say that. So if the number of graduates is going up, but people are still struggling, now what happens in that situation? Because now I don't think people are dumb. I don't think people are lazy. If we have more knowledge, but we are still, they said that you need to get educated so that you can have better opportunity. Now a lot of people are educated, but we are struggling even more. So that is the first, that is just one observation I've made. And then another observation I've made is that young people, once we are done with, once you get your diploma, once you get your degree, or you get your master's, you stop learning. And I'm not talking about varsity. I'm not talking about the traditional institution where you're sitting in class, someone is teaching. I'm just talking about your self-education. People just stop. People are not reading. People just stop learning. That's it. After my diploma, I'm going to work. And then what happens is the job that you are doing in the next 3 to 4 years, a new software skill or whatever is required, but you don't have that because of you stopped, you became relaxed. So I don't know if you can just maybe you have a comment on that, or maybe a few advices.
Yeah, it's demotivating, yes, to go to school, get your degree, and then you come back, you don't get a job. There was I don't know if you saw it, it was on, one of these memes saying education was a key until the politicians, or they said until the politician came and then took the key away, that kid somehow got lost. Then the doors were locked. Yeah, they say education used to open doors until the politician came and then changed the door locks, you see. So it's true in a sense that I got my first degree in 1987. It was through a bursary. And then after completing, I was expected to go and work for a number of years. But I was also earning my salary. And you see, it was, I didn't apply for a job. I just applied for the bursary and then I got it. I signed a contract that when I finish, I'll come and work. And I did. And then I got my second degree through a bursary from my employer. I applied to be assisted. And then the requirement was that you should be working in that area of the degree that you are doing. Fine, that was the second. And then I got my third, the honors. When I did my honors degree, I also got it from my employer. And then fortunately, there was also a partial bursary at UP. So it was, And then for the masters, UP offered me a bursary. They paid for my fees. And because I was employed, it was easy. And then during those years, when you pass a degree, they would give you a lump sum. So a lot of us were motivated to get educated because we know we could get a lump sum, and then also a notch progression. Your notch would go up.
Yes.
Up until when 1994 came, and then we voted and things changed. For me, I felt like education was no longer valued because people who were educated or people who had qualifications, even if they applied, they never got the jobs that they applied for. And people who didn't have qualifications were put in, you hear it's all over the news that it has been found that a lot of
All right, we had to cut the conversation short, but I hope you found the conversation valuable. You grabbed yourself a few things that you can start using in your life moving forward, especially when it comes to the values that you can start building right now so you can pass those values on to the next generation. I think it's always great to communicate with elders. They are able to see some of the blind spots that we can see, especially as the youth. And my message to you today is that with every person that you are going to meet, is either they're going to be selling you a story of fear or the story of hope. And I pray to you today that you can buy the story of hope, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what? We have some amazing content coming up your way. We have a lineup of interviews with great, amazing entrepreneurs, academics, thought leaders. It's just freak. It's we're going to blow your mind away. So hit the subscribe button, hit the link, subscribe, hit the like, share. Look, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again. Cheers.